Hello and welcome again to another episode of Truly Happy One. Ako po ulit si Eric Kalugdan and together with us is Sir Enrico Garcia. I used to be an IT consultant for Unisys and then after that I put up my own business called InfoText. I'm also the CIO of Philpax and also the Chief Technology Officer of Sante. You can call me a serial entrepreneur. Si Sir Enrico used to be the Retail Operations Manager of Shell. And then after Shell, he became the country manager of Herbalife. Also, the director of operations of Avon, and then also board of directors, one of the board of directors of the Direct Selling Association of the Philippines. Now he is a mindset coach and the director for international operations of Sante. No? And months back, no, kinausap ako ni Sir Enrico, no, na Eric, ano bang pwede natin gawin para makatulong sa ating mga kababayan? And nabuo nga itong Truly Happy One. So welcome to Truly Happy One. We do this every Saturdays at 5 p.m. via Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And we discuss world-class Pinoy excellence. Paano nga ba mag-isip ang mga world-class Pinoys para tayo din maging world-class? Now, before we go into our topic for this week, please let us know where you are watching from. If you are watching from Mandaluyong, type nyo lang dyan sa comment section sa Facebook, watching from Mandaluyong. Kung kayo nanonood from Dubai, type nyo na rin sa chat dyan sa YouTube, watching from Dubai. Ayan. And during the discussion, this is an interactive webinar. Send us your questions. Kung merong hindi clear, gusto niyo ng further explanation pa, type nyo sa comment section or sa chat. Or if you have feedback na, yes, I agree, type nyo na rin yan sa comments and feedback para makatulong tayo sa ating mga ibang viewers. Don't hesitate to like the video, comment na rin, and tag nyo yung mga friends nyo na sa tingin nyo makakatulong itong ating topic for today. Share nyo na rin, and para wala kayong ma-miss na mga episodes natin sa mga susunod na linggo, subscribe kayo sa YouTube. Diyan sa bandang baba sa YouTube may red subscribe button. Libre mag-subscribe, wala pong bayad yan. Okay? So again, every week we do this Saturdays at 5 p.m. And iba-iba yung topics natin. So for this week, ang topic natin is Unlearn to Earn in the New Normal. Ayan. So Sir Enrico, ano ba tong Unlearn to Earn in the New Normal?
Unang-una, good afternoon, Eric, and to all our viewers. And yeah, parang tongue twister at saka at the same time, medyo parang counterintuitive, di ba? Kasi nga, more often than not, we always, we've been programmed na kailangan madagdagan yung kaalaman natin, that we need to learn new things, which of course is true. But what we will talk about here is that we also need to unlearn some of those things that we've learned over many years that are probably no longer relevant. Diba? So it's this, this is a quite thought-provoking, yung ating topic. Kasi it's like what they call the action bias. We always like to move and do things. There are situations though where sometimes it's better to look at the situation, step back before you take action. So this is similar to that, right? We keep focusing on acquiring new knowledge, but we should be stepping back and saying, hold on a minute. How about those things that we've acquired for such a long time that may no longer be applicable today? Yan yung ating topic.
Yeah, exciting. Parang reset, Kumbaga sa computer, reformat ang mangyayari sa atin ngayon.
Yes.
Ayan. So Philip ko is watching us, watching from Quezon City. Thank you po. And Facebook user watching from Holy Spirit QC. And
Salamat.
Sir Gabita Divas via YouTube. Sabi niya,
Yes.
Good afternoon from Paranaque. Advance Happy Mother's Day. Yes.
Correct.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Mothers po sa ating mga viewers at sa mga mothers nyo rin. Advance Happy Mother's Day. Okay, so first slide.
Yes. So, si Alvin Toffler is the guy that wrote yung Future Shock, the Third Wave, futurist. If you look him up, he's a futurist. And many, many years ago, decades ago, well, namatay na si Mr. Alvin Toffler, he was talking about how technology was going to really change the way people, will be interacting with each other way ahead of all of this that we have today. Uh, and he already predicted that, in his case, rightfully, And one of the things that he mentioned, even the way ideas, di ba? Ideas before would last for several decades, di ba? Di ba, Eric? Even in technology, di ba? But today,
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 years is a long time, di ba? Sometimes it might be, in 2 years pa lang meron na. So, this is really at the heart of our topic. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write. Di ba? Parang, uy,
Mm-hmm.
illiterate pero 'di ba hindi nga 'di ba, because it's those who
Uh-huh.
cannot learn, unlearn and relearn. Ito yung sinasabi natin, 'di ba? Kasi it
Mm-hmm.
leads us to, I want you to really focus on that. So you become illiterate, 'di ba? Dati definition yan, hindi ka makabasa, hindi ka makasulat, 'di ba? Illiterate ka.
Oo.
But even that notion has changed significantly. I'm not suggesting that you don't read or learn to read or to write, no. But you need to put it within the context of where we are today. And later, Eric, you can definitely add to this because technology, as you know, has really, wow, made a lot of things possible. Sige, let's go through the next slide.
Correct. Yeah, next slide.
And ito talaga, di ba? The problem is not people being uneducated. The problem is that they are educated just enough to believe what they've been taught and not educated enough to question what they've been taught. Ito yung sinasabi natin in our past episodes na yung ating programming, yung conditioning, di ba? And then, not just we're not educated, we're not assertive enough to challenge, di ba? Yung critical thinking. Tama pa ba? And Mamya will go through some examples, di ba? There is nothing wrong to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, if you go to the schools, whether in the UK or in the US, a couple of decades back, that's why they learn. The focus is on learning, not on memorizing formulas or theories. It is to challenge, di ba? It's encouraged there that they even challenge yung sinasabi ng professor because the focus is on learning, right? There are many things that if you
Mm-hmm.
go through and you don't challenge it, the world doesn't benefit from that nice exchange, which results to learning new things. Kaya yung iba naiiwan na lang in the past kasi wala nang impetus for challenging the things that is that still applicable today. Nakuha ba yun,
Mm-hmm.
Eric? Di ba?
Yes.
So, very, very crucial to that we have to, sabi nga ni Toffler, learn, of course, but also unlearn and relearn. Bitawan na yung
Mm-hmm.
hindi na applicable. Di ba?
Parang related din sa word na pivot. No,
Yes,
yun yung sikat ngayon dahil sa
exactly.
pandemic.
Exactly. Sige, just a few more, and then we'll go into some samples, di ba?
Sige.
So,
Mm-hmm.
why unlearn nga ba, di ba? Bakit ba, di ba? I mean, shouldn't we just keep adding and adding? Of course naman, di ba? You have to add. But you also need to, parang computer, di ba? Dagdag ng software, di ba? Tama ba, Eric? I'll relate it to your field.
Correct.
At some point, di ba, you have to housekeep rin, di ba? Aalisin mo rin yung, di ba,
Mm-hmm.
hindi na gumagana or mabagal na software. Tama ba, Eric?
Correct. Kapag masyado ng madaming laman, bumabagal yung buong system. No? Yung tinatawag din ng iba dyan is bloatware. No? Mga software na nandyan, built-in, nung binili mo, pero hindi naman siya talaga ginagamit, hindi mo ginagamit, nag-occupy lang siya ng space and resources nung cellphone mo or device mo. No? So yun yung tinatawag na bloatware na kailangan mo talagang manually i-uninstall siya para lang mas maging efficient at mapabilis pa yung iyong device.
Ang ganda nung sinabi mo and ang ganda nung example. It occupies space and takes up resources. The same things, di ba, that we have here that are no longer relevant takes up space and resources. And syempre, bumabagal ng bumabagal yung processing ng computer. Tama? At saka,
Yes.
ganun din sa atin. And sometimes, those software, whatever programs you have there, cannot even you can't even utilize it for the new applications. Hindi na relevant, di ba? Hindi na, anong term mo? Hindi na
Correct.
compatible, di ba?
Hindi mo na ginagamit. Oo.
Correct. 'Di ba? So yan, we're using an analogy. So exactly, incorrect, ineffective or obsolete na. Admitting it and
Mm.
deciding to erase such bad conditioning and misconceptions from our mind for good, 'di ba?
Mm.
Hindi na relevant 'di ba? Alisin mo na 'yun, unlearn it and adapt the new, 'di ba? That's
Correct.
relevant.
Yan yung mga
Okay.
sinasabi nila ngayon, may mga hugot diyan, ang tawag nila let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's normally used now when it's an emotional ano, but it's still the same. Yeah, let it go. It's
Mm.
occupying space. It's occupying space here and here in your heart. It's making you bitter. It's
Yes.
making you not do anything. Instead of you learning and growing, it's the reverse. That's why you get stuck. Diba? Tama.
Yep.
So see, even there. Sige. So why unlearn? And how? How? See, it's not about forgetting. It's really more about the ability to choose an alternative mental model or paradigm. You have a new way of looking at things, diba? So when we learn, of course you add new skills. Of course you always need that. Those that are relevant, diba? But when we unlearn, we step outside ano yung mental model. Yung what is possible out there. Ang mental image ko nito, Eric, is kung si Christopher Columbus, the one that discovered America, di ba? Nakakatakot lumayo sa shore, di ba? Kung hindi mo alam saan ka
Mm.
pupunta. Can you imagine being out in the sea na hindi ka nakakita ng lupa? It's scary.
Correct.
But if you don't venture away from the shore, you never discover new land or new worlds. You have to get out of
Correct.
that for you to really grow. Is it is there a risk? Of course. That's why nga most stay beside. Kumbaga sa swimming pool, nakakapit ka na lang pirmi dun sa railing.
Sa gilid
'Di
lang.
ba?
Sa
Sa
gutter.
gilid ka. Oo, sa gutter
Oo.
ka para hindi ka maano. But how will you ever grow? How will you ever learn? We've had episodes on this,
Mm.
'di ba? So I'm using that as an
Mm.
analogy, 'di ba? So, okay. That's how to unlearn. So let's take a look at a few examples, Eric, para maano nung audience natin ngayon. Ano ba 'tong pinag-uusapan nyo
So,
and how does it
yung
go ahead.
unlearn, oo, sir, para siyang yung thinking out of the box, 'di ba? Parang yun yun.
Yes, you get out of kung saan ka sanay and ano yung alam mo. Because that's when
Mm.
the unlearning there is yung parang hindi na to ano eh. 'Di ba? I should be looking at it
Hindi na
differently.
effective.
And I'll give you a few examples. 'Di ba?
Ayan, sige.
Okay. We spoke about this, yung economic models, di ba? In fact, the topic, it wasn't last week. Hindi. Yung prosperity tapos inequality.
Yes, last episode natin yon. By the way, sa
Last
mga
ep.
viewers natin, kung na-miss nyo yung episode na yon, nasa link, lahat ng episodes natin, no? Nasa, ano na ba tayo? Episode 42, wow.
Wow.
42. So, from episode 1 to 41, nandyan sa description nitong video, yung links doon. So, kung na-miss nyo, walang problema. Just click on the link para mapanood yung episode na yon. And yung na-mention nga ni Sir Enrico, last week, yun yung inequality, yung topic natin. Yes, sir.
Right. So, some examples. The thinking that worked for many decades, and alam mo na naman to, from industrial, maraming naiiwan pa sa industrial. Information age na tayo ngayon eh. Hindi ba? So, yung economic models noon was, of course, focused on growth, measuring your success in GDP. But that has also created a lot of problems, a lot of inequalities, which we all know. In fact, the response to that has been a new framework, a new paradigm on how should how should our economic model be? And doon pumapasok yung well-being economy. You have countries that are serious into that. New Zealand, I believe Iceland, and even Scotland. Talagang serious sila. Ilagay muna yung well-being ng tao and then build everything around that. In other words, ang definition nila ng success is napapangalagaan ba yung total well-being ng tao. Doon mo lang masasabi na your economic model is really successful and is no longer just defined by the growth and the normal, if you want to call it KPIs or metrics by which you say mapayapa or prosperous yung
Yes.
bansa.
Yun yung pinaka-indicator nila kapag mataas
Correct.
ang well-being or yung well-being ng mas nakararami, no, ay maganda.
Correct.
Yun yung
Nandun yung
indicator ng kanilang
nandun yung
economics.
principles of equality, justice, not just in money, pati sa opportunities. I was listening to the late Lee
Mhm.
Kuan Yew. Sabi niya, ang ganda nung sinabi ni Lee Kuan Yew, the late Lee Kuan Yew. Sabi niya, the
Mhm.
government's role is to provide um, equitable opportunities, not results. Ito yung pinag-uusapan natin, di ba? Yung industriya na
Yes, oo.
ini-equalize niya na lahat may chance
Mhm.
regardless of their race, their background, their color. Di ba?
Mhm.
Yan yung mga thinking outside. Yan yung mga unlearning di ba? Yan ang isang example. Innovation, Eric.
Yep.
Let me just move to that. And I don't know if we
Mhm.
already featured that as a topic before, but remember I think we did very briefly.
Oo, yung parang innovation thinking. Meron
Correct.
tayong
Yung
episode nun.
framework of
Yes,
innovation, which
innovation
is
framework.
oo,
Yes.
dinidefine niya hindi based on demographics or psychographics. Dinidefine niya yung innovation is you have a job to be done in a particular circumstance. Example,
Mhm.
bago nag-COVID, kailangan ko makarating from my place to my work. And I need to get there. I want to get there in a, relaxed way. I can pay. In other words, Uber and Grab.
Mhm.
Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin demographic or psychographic. Whether you're 70 years old, mayaman, minimum wage earner, nag-grab or nag-Uber
Correct.
nung meron.
Oo.
Kasi ang definition niya ng innovation is hindi based on demographics or yung profiling or target market. Rather, dinidefine niya or yung kanyang way of yung framework niya is kaya mo kukunin, iso-subscribe isang produkto is because it is fulfilling a job that you, the customer, you need to get it done within certain circumstance. Yung
Mhm.
circumstance yung importante. Parang,
Mhm.
remember, yung discussion nun, kaya ang ginagawa nung quick service restaurants, yung mga Jollibee, yung mga fast food, kaya sila nagpepwesto sa mga building ng call center. Bakit? Kasi the job to be done nung call center agent in between their shift when they will have a meal is nagagampanan. You need reasonable, masarap, consistent na food, malinis, and mabilis mo makukuha. Bababa ka lang ng building mo,
Yes.
elevator, in a few minutes, you're in the counter, you get your food, you can go back up. The same person
Yep.
will probably not take that when it's after his shift or work. Kasi may oras na siya eh. Nagbago yung circumstance. Hindi na ako nagmamadali. I don't need to go back. I can
Mhm.
now exercise a more or a healthier option. The same person.
Mhm.
So yun yung sinasabi ko, Eric, di ba?
Correct.
So ang nagbago yung circumstance, hindi yung tao. Binago mo yung circumstance, nagbago
Mhm.
yung anong decision niya. Which product do I take in?
Mhm.
Okay, anong
Correct.
relationship niyan dun sa pinag-usapan natin? That is a way of unlearning yung old way of target mo, profile mo, sa segment mo, and it's a new way of getting out of what is the usual in understanding why do people bring in that product or that service, and sometimes you don't
Mhm.
understand why, di ba? O, di ba? Okay. Then wealth creation, di ba? The beliefs that we've been, conditioned to accept is really, yun na nga, ako, I'm a product of that. Punta ka eskwela, good grades, so that when you graduate, you can go to a good company. And again,
Mhm.
I am not suggesting that's not good. But is that today? with everything that's around us, there is another way. There are many other ways, di ba? Ang daming startups, di ba? In fact, you just look at the billionaires today. Look at their age, di ba?
Correct. Kaya
Di ba?
maraming ang mga nagsasabi na parang nasa maling career ako, di ba? Yung maraming mga nakaka-realize na ganun ngayon na, teka, mali yata yung pinasok ko. Di ba? Kasi maraming paraan na ngayon, no, na mag-create nga ng wealth.
Right. And the way we create wealth, we had this episode, empleyado, self-employed, or you do a business
Yes.
owner. Di ba? We had that discussion. Di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Correct.
even that, di ba? Dati, ang alam lang natin, hindi. There's only one way, is you work hard, you put everything, you work your entire life, and, it makes you, provider, and that's good. But we never had any way to produce leverage income, which we all know
Correct.
the billionaires and millionaires are using.
Yes. In fact, may mga tao pa nga na hindi naintindihan ano ibig sabihin ng leverage.
Correct.
Much more leverage income. So, yun din yung dahilan kung bakit ginagawa natin itong mga ganitong webinars para ma-discover nila,
Ma-
di ba? Ano pa yung ibang
yes.
nandyan? Ma-open yung
Yes.
mind nila.
Yes. To
Yes.
unlearn nga, di ba? You have to unlearn some
Mm,
of the stuff to give way to new so that you can remain relevant, di ba? Di ba?
correct.
So yun, Eric, let me stop there. Baka may
Yes.
questions ka to clarify, di ba? Or, di ba?
Yes, so sa ating mga viewers, kung meron kayong mga questions, type nyo dyan sa comment section sa Facebook or chat sa YouTube. No? Nanonood po sa atin, sir, si Raniel Biagtan and
Oh,
Michelle
wow.
Moreno. Yan. Thank you po
Wow.
for
Thank you.
watching. Yan.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
dun sa isang sa mga slides nyo, parang naalala ko yung isang topic nung sa mga personal development trainings natin, no? Yung statement na question everything. 'Di ba? Hindi dahil sa yan na yung nakasanayan, hindi dahil sa yan na yung naging tradisyon, no. Susundin mo na lang blindly, 'di ba? So siguro nga dapat we have to have that kind of mindset na question everything, 'di ba? Sa mga bata, usong-uso yung mga ganyan, 'di ba? Why? Kasi ganito.
Yeah.
Why? Kasi ganito. 'Di ba, sir? Dapat ganun yung
Exactly.
mindset natin.
Yeah. Yeah. Hindi yung in a rude or ano, but it's because you want to really learn, 'di ba? Yun nga, 'di ba?
Yes.
So, kaya ang title natin, Unlearn yung mga deep programs natin, 'di ba? Yung na
Mhm.
program 'di ba? Na program tayo
Correct.
na ganito
May
lang.
isang kwento na naalala ko doon, yung kapag may isang family celebration, meron silang special tuna na niluluto. Ang ginagawa nila, kinakat nila yung ulo tsaka yung buntot lagi. Tapos yung gitna, yun lang yung tinitira nila. And yun yung tradition nila, ilang generations na. No? Hanggang sa may isang bata na nagtanong, bakit pinuputol yung ulo tapos yung buntot
Ah,
ng ganong pagkaluto?
right.
Yung pala, na tinatry na nila alamin. No? So, kasi sabi ng lola ko, ganyan lutuin yan. Sabi ng lola ko, ganyan lutuin yan. Hanggang sa umabot dun sa talagang original na gumawa ng recipe. Kaya pala pinuputol yung ulo tsaka yung buntot. Kasi yun lang yung kasya dun sa lutuan, dun sa pan.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember now. Yes. Correct. Correct.
Oo.
Wala pa lang
Yeah.
talagang reason, 'di ba? Kasi hindi kasya eh.
Wala, oh. Hindi kasya. So, pinutol nila yung ulo tsaka yung buntot para lang magkasya dun sa pan. Diba?
Eh,
So, yung mga ganong klase na naging tradition na lang, naging fix na, yun yan, na-program tayo ng ganon, na hindi, parang ganun lang pala yung dahilan, di ba? So,
correct.
kailangan talaga alamin natin kung ano talaga yung pinaka-cause nitong ating mga natutunan at ano yung mga bagay na kailangan nating i-unlearn, yun nga, para merong space to relearn new things.
Correct. Maganda yung sinabi mo, Eric. Bigla akong sabi ko, i-relate natin sa pandemic. This is the time to look
Mm.
at new models, lalo sa retail, lalo sa food. Diba? The traditional
Yes.
for brick and mortar, obviously, nabago na yan. And for those that will
Mm.
continue to hold on to that, will be the ones who may be challenged insofar as transitioning to the new models, diba? And the new format
Mm.
for you to remain relevant and profitable in the new normal. Naririnig mo, di ba? I
Correct.
still have friends, pare, pag bumalik na tayo sa dating gawi, And I always tell them, pare, listen to what you're saying. Your mind is still there to a world that may
Mm-hmm.
no longer exist and will not exist even when we have the vaccination. It has changed, di ba?
Correct.
So, yun yung,
Ayan.
di ba? Go ahead.
Yep, eto may question si Sir Gabi the Diva. Sabi niya, unfortunately, our education system teaches us to believe, not understand. On one hand, how do we teach ourselves and our children to be inquisitive but not get stuck in analysis paralysis?
Good
Magandang
question.
tanong.
Yeah, very good question, Gabi. And you're right. Yeah. And yeah, hindi ka rin pwede analysis paralysis, di ba? Kasi nga, ang nangyayari kung minsan, pag maraming question at hindi na rin natin alam yung sagot, kung mas matanda ka, kung may ascendancy ka, hindi, basta ganyan yan. Di ba? Tama si
Oo.
Gabi. What we should be doing is really engaging even the children. We could be learning from them. Hey, that's right. Di ba? So exactly to your point, hindi memory work, hindi ano, pero talagang understanding. Di ba? So, tama ka. That's
Correct.
exactly the kind of conversations that need to happen. But unfortunately, we've been programmed, to a large extent just to accept, lalo sa kultura natin, di ba, not to challenge, di ba? It's not generally accepted to challenge yung, lalo a professor or an elderly, di ba? In our culture, no? So that adds to
Yep.
the challenge, di ba? Remember that yun sa
Yes.
Korea, yung pilots, ha? One of the reasons, di ba, yung isang Korean, I forget which Korean airline, yung nag-ano siya sa San Francisco. Part of the
Mm-hmm.
problem when they were doing yung root cause analysis was you never question the captain. You never. Because sa
Mm-hmm.
culture nila, syempre, yung captain is, wow, experienced,
Mm-hmm.
knowledgeable, the most,
Mm-hmm.
kumbaga, meron parang mantle of invincibility
Mm-hmm.
culturally, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of
At yun
the
yung naging
issue.
cause.
Oh, yeah, kasi nakikita na nila na, teka, may problema tayo. Pero because culturally,
Mm-hmm.
hindi ano sa kanila yun, that's not really a welcome, hindi challenge.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ayan. So, kailangan na talaga question everything. Ayan. Meron pong message dito from Facebook. Sabi niya, knowledge and reality constantly change through time. Thus, Einstein's assistant was puzzled why Einstein gave the same set of questions he gave to the same class of students the year before. Einstein simply replied, yes, it's the same questions, but the answers have changed since then. Indeed, you are right. At times, it is necessary to unlearn or totally debunk what is already established as accepted knowledge or what is considered the truth. Yan. Tama.
Yeah. Di ba, si Copernicus, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Hanggang how many centuries yun na hindi natin challenge, di ba? It was never challenged, yung
Mm-hmm.
kanyang scientific, So, centuries, di ba? And then many, di ba, who was it who was saying the world was flat until, a
Yes.
revolution was, di ba, na, no, it's not. Nobody dared challenge it, di
Mm-hmm.
ba? So, yun yung exactly to the
Correct.
point, di ba? Na, teka, is there a better explanation to it, di ba? And again, let's go to more
Yes.
modern times, di ba? Maraming ganun, di ba, na akala natin, like dati, I belong to this generation, dati dapat trigger happy ka, tanggalin mo yung tonsil pag nagkaka-tonsil, tonsillitis. Yeah,
Oo.
during our time, ang solution dun was, tanggalin.
Remove. Oo.
Yet, later you realize, that's the way nga the body tells you there's a problem eh. Yun yung thermostat mo
Mm-hmm.
eh. Yun yung nagsasabi sa'yo na may
Mm-hmm.
problema. Parang fever, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Fever is an indicator of your body telling you there's something going on.
Mm-hmm.
If you manage the fever, then you don't eventually get to the root cause of it. Kaya there's a lot of debate, di ba? Ngayon.
Mm-hmm.
Di ba? Of course,
Correct.
sa children, if it goes high, of course, they can, the younger ones pwedeng mag-convulsion. Di ba? So you need to manage that. See,
Mm-hmm.
so, in society, ang dami natin band-aid. Di ba? Literally,
Mm-hmm.
band-aid solution. Palliative.
Oo.
Hindi siya talaga yung permanent solution. Remedyo.
Mm-hmm. Oo.
So
At
even
kailangan
the
natin talaga
thinking.
ng permanent solution.
Correct.
Yes, correct. And speaking of thinking, teka sir, yung electric fan medyo parang lumalakas siya sa inyo. Ayan, hinaan ko te. So, speaking of thinking, na-mention nyo kanina yung critical thinking, no? Which I believe very important ngayon, lalo na ngayong new normal, no? Dahil nga ang daming nagbabago, ang daming nag-change, yung behavior ng consumers, yung behavior ng mga businesses. So, yung mga tao na sanay na or merong skill ng critical thinking, sila yung nagta-thrive ngayon, no, dito sa ganitong pandemic. Ang question ko is, how do you cultivate, no, itong tinatawag na critical thinking? May mga tips ba kayo na pwedeng i-share?
Yeah, very simple is yung sinabi mo kanina. Now, we should really be challenging each other in yung curiosity, which will lead us to the topic next week, di ba? Which is, what kind of thinking nga
Mm,
ba, di ba? And we will talk about that. Okay, to answer your question is, we should always, okay pa ba to? Is this still, di ba? We ourselves, and then we
mm,
go with people who are also doing the same. It's hard to do this on
mm,
your own, di ba? So it helps a lot when you have people who encourage. Hindi yung for the sake of just, challenging. Pero seeking talaga na
mm,
parang, okay pa ba talaga to? Is this still relevant? Di ba?
mm.
Tama ba talaga to? Or naipasa lang sa atin and we never really dug deeper kung ano nga ba talaga. Di ba?
Correct.
So, that's one way to do
Yep.
it, di ba? Where you, kaya nga we're doing these talks, di ba?
Yes.
So we're doing this so that people start to have that shift, di ba? In yung paradigm na, oh nga, no? Maybe I need to become relevant in today's new normal, di ba? I have to let go of the fact na what some people say, technology will never replace people. Yeah, of course, of course, the best computer ever is the one that's in between your ears, no question, di ba? But are you
Mm.
really holding on to that as a ano, or is it just a resistance to what's going on around you? You should be the first to embrace, hey, what I couldn't do many years, I can now do. Can you imagine we're talking like this?
Correct.
I, you,
Nung
I
5 years
would
ago, 7
never,
years ago, hindi natin na-imagine yun.
impossible, impossible. Remember,
Oo. In
Eric?
fact, sabi ko nga, itong panahon na 'to, ito yung sabi kong dream job ko. I mean, dream work na alam mo yun, sa bahay ka lang, you don't need to go stuck in traffic for 4 hours a day dahil apat yung meetings mo, isang oras na traffic bawat meeting. 'Di ba? Ngayon, isang click na lang nasa isang meeting ka na, isang click nasa isang meeting ka na. And hindi ka limited sa distance, 'di ba? So, hindi natin na-imagine yung before na pwede mo kausapin nasa ibang bansa pa. Tapos real time yung conversation with video pa, 'di ba? So
Libre pa.
kailangan talaga na libre pa yung matindi.
At,
Naalala ko dati yung kailangan mong tumawag long distance. Pupunta ka pa dun sa office ng PLDT. Tapos yung bayad pa per minute. Tapos audio lang yun. I mean, voice lang
correct.
yun. Tapos hindi pa ganun yung kaganda yung quality. Di ba? Meron nga before na, na ano to, na conception na kapag muffled yung audio mo, para kang naglo-long distance. Parang
Yeah,
gano'n, di ba? Dati.
yeah, yeah.
Ngayon,
So,
grabe.
exactly.
Quality
Can
yung
you,
mga, oo.
unbelievable. 'Di ba? Can you imagine like ako, yun lalo yung generation ko. Wow. Parang if you told me this like 30 years ago, hindi ako maniniwala
Mm-mm.
na what we're able to do today.
Correct.
Nadadating ka sa panahon
Yes.
na you can pay through this laptop, you can pay using your phone. Your phones are even more powerful than some laptops. Tama ba? In terms of computing power,
Correct.
hindi ba? Oh,
Correct. Correct.
how do you, 'di ba? If you don't challenge those things, 'di ba? Like 'di ba si Steve Jobs. I'm not an Apple user, but sabi niya, what
Mm.
is the yung stylus? Gusto niyang palitan 'di ba? Kasi meron ka pa ring pen eh. Sabi niya, ano ba yung stylus
Mm.
na dala mo with you all the time? Ito. And that's
Oo.
what gave
Correct.
birth to the touch screen. Because you always
Touchscreen.
have
Oo.
you have your finger with you. And nobody believed the touch screen. You remember that, 'di ba, Eric? Samsung didn't
Yes.
did
Pinagtatawanan
and
pa nga yun noon eh.
oh,
Oo.
and here you are,
Correct.
'di ba?
Yep. Yeah, so kailangan talaga no na we have to be open no sa mga new technologies, sa mga new processes no sa business, sa consumers no etc. So, ang ating question sa ating mga viewers. Ayan. So, ang ating question ay what are your takeaways for our topic today? Ano yung tingin nyo na kailangan yung i-unlearn and also relearn or learn in the future? Okay? So, ako naman ang aking takeaway dito is yung pinaka-importanting statement lagi na nare-recall ko kapag ito yung usapan is question everything, no? Isipin bakit nga ba ganito? Bakit ito yung nakasanayan? Bakit ganyan, etc. Be curious, parang yun nga, parang bata, 'di ba? Ask why always. Also, very important sa panahon natin ngayon, itong new normal, no, na nasa pandemic tayo at na maraming nagbabago, maraming nagche-change. No, we should always practice critical thinking, no? Kung may mga pwede niyo i-search sa YouTube 'yan, critical thinking at maraming lalabas na how to be more critical, no, in the way you think. And yun nga, yung unlearning is also letting go, no? So kung ano ba yung mga natutunan natin before, whether kultura yan or kung ano man, kung hindi na talaga siya applicable today, we have to really let it go. And no, there are other ways of learning. What two ways for me, two ways of learning. One is you learn from your mistakes or learn from others' mistakes. So mas maganda no that you learn from other people's mistakes by looking at mga biographies. So meron akong nabili na book before, Sir Enrico, na ano siya, profile ng mga biographies ng iba-ibang mga successful businessmen, no? And makikita mo
Right.
doon na may stages sila na nagkamali sila ng decision, yung mga ganon. So, at least alam mo kung paano sila nagkamali. Hindi mo na uulitin, no?
Yes.
Kaysa yung ano yun, sa charge to experience. Marami kang charge to experience kung hindi ka nakikinig doon sa experience ng ibang tao, no? So, try to learn from other people's mistakes, no? By yun nga, listening to mga biographies, etc. And yun yung purpose din nitong Truly Happy One series natin. So kung ako ikaw, make sure that you subscribe, no? Dahil itong Truly Happy One series natin helps you unlearn yung mga bagay na hindi na applicable ngayon and learn new things, no, na pwede nating i-add sa ating knowledge, no, sa ating thinking para tayo ay maging successful at maging truly happy one. Yan. Sir Enrico, kayo po, meron po ba kayong
Ang galing.
i-share
Ano pa?
summary?
Ano pa idadagdag ko doon? Ang ganda nung takeaway mo. And yeah, not to ano, it's exactly yung sinabi mo, 'di ba? Yung bakit nga ba pinuputol yung buntot at yung ulo? Did anybody ever
Mm,
stop to ask, bakit nga ba? 'Di ba? It was only
correct.
that time nung dun sa example mo that I don't know which generation, why do you cut the tail and the head? Only to discover there
Oo.
was no real good reason for it. The simple answer was it would not fit. And that was it.
Correct.
But it went
Oo.
on for
Yes.
generations without being challenged or questioned. Okay? So absolutely
Yes.
what Erica said. And yun nga, di ba? It's because you have to have that curiosity to learn, di ba? So
Yep.
that's why we want to do this through this particular talk to to provide that environment where people can really challenge and unlearn, di ba? And there's much to unlearn in order to relearn, di ba? So yun,
Correct.
Eric.
Yan. Sabi ni Sir Gabby Dadivas, ang kanyang takeaway, start from a clean slate and do what is right. Correct.
Correct. Uy,
Yan.
si
Sabi rin
ano.
ni Alan Aguinaldo, sabi niya, for me, it's unlearning that success is defined by reaching the top of the corporate ladder. Yan,
Yeah.
isa rin yan
Yeah.
sa mga
Correct.
bagay. Correct.
Correct. Correct.
Yep.
'Di ba? Napakatama nung sinabi ni, thank you Alan for that insight na that's not the only path. 'Di ba? That's not the only way. 'Di ba? Na yes, it's
Yes.
one of them, but there are many others, 'di ba? So, thank you.
Correct. So, ang ating topic next week ay what is your thinking style today? No? So, yan. Sir,
Yan.
konting intro. Ano ba tong topic natin next week? Sige, sir.
Correct. This was related to yung 'di ba, nagbigay ako ng konting reference kanina, 'di ba? the way you think, di ba? And I will talk about four particular thinking styles. Very relevant to Eric kasi two of
Mhm.
them, marami ako nakikita they're in that current space because of the situation. So the quality and
Mhm.
style of thinking is what will really determine. It goes back to everything we're talking about, 'di ba? And this is
At
lalo
puwede
na
kang
because
magpalit ng thinking style,
of
gano'n ba?
course, of course. Yung isa is yung
Mhm.
sinabi mo, 'di ba? Nung bata tayo, if you ask a child, what do you want to be? They were crystal clear. They would tell you, I want to be a
Mhm.
pilot, I want to be a lawyer, I
Mhm.
want to be a firefighter, I want to be a doctor, right? They were crystal clear.
Mhm.
They knew what they wanted, right? And we will talk about that, diba? That there are four thinking styles that you need, especially when the situation is a bit uncertain and the people are a bit worried. So
Wow,
understanding that
exciting.
will help people not just navigate, but
Yes,
sabi nga,
so
thrive.
yan. So, very exciting yung topic natin next week. So, make sure para hindi nyo ma-miss, make sure that you subscribe sa YouTube. And meron din tayong Facebook group, no? Yung link dun sa Facebook group na yon nasa last link sa description nitong video. Dyan lang sa baba. Okay, so let us end our webinar with our usual Panatang Makabayan. So, itaas po natin ating kanang kamay at bigkasin ang Panatang Makabayan. Iniibig ko ang Pilipinas, aking lupang sinilangan, tahanan ng aking lahi. Kinukupkop ako at tinutulungan upang maging malakas, masipag at marangal. Dahil mahal ko ang Pilipinas, diringgin ko ang payo ng aking mga magulang. Susundin ko ang tuntunin ng lipunan. Tutuparin ko ang tungkulin ng mamamayang makabayan. Naglilingkod, nag-aaral at nagdarasal ng buong katapatan. Ialay ko ang aking buhay, pangarap at pagsisikap sa bansang Pilipinas.